Hello, this is Jeremy Mitchell, and we're back for another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast. First, we have married Texas GOP who said drag shows sexualize children resigns over allegations he got teen intern drunk before having sex with her from the International Business Times posted by Chi-Town20. That's across was from the Drag Queen subreddit. And I definitely would agree that, the politics is kind of hypocrite, but I think they kind of all are hypocrites, so this isn't really too surprising to me, I would say. Then we have murders happen, homicides happen. We want to be careful not to assign motivation to a story based on the person's professional work. That being said, whenever the accused is R, the motive drops instantly. Whenever the victim is R, there is some non-political excuse or obfuscation. And that was Tim Pool on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, the narrative is crafted around violent incidents rather than the other way around, in my opinion. Be aware which ones the media emphasizes and which it sweeps under the rug. Then we have all of the repression against independent media in the West, the censorship, harassment, the exclusion from payment processing, and fundraising tools. All of these are the early stages of what will eventually happen to anyone who dares voice any meaningful opposition to the regime, from Prino Radical on Twitter. And I posted that, and I said, agreed, the future doesn't look too bright for free speech. And eventually, I think I agree, anyone who dissents from the narrative, official narrative at all, will be labeled an extremist jerk, and they won't be able to use anything, so they'll be censored by, in fact, the government corporate consortium, and that's why, we gotta support free speech while we still have it, I think. Because I don't think that's gonna always be here. It doesn't look like it might not be here for long. Then we have everything's a grift these days from Define Elves. That was my reply to the tweet, actually, but the actual tweet was a picture of the Black Lives Matter from December 2nd, 2021. Capitalism doesn't love black people. And the New York Post tweet on April 4th, 2022. Black Lives Matter used donations to buy $6 million Southern California home, says report. And I said, remember, everyone wants to sell you something, and currently there is no better field for that than political stuff. I personally, I did one of the Black BLM marches in December 2020 to make that as an autistic person arguably libertarian. I'm also a member of a marginalized group like black people, and I think it's important to show us other people are discriminating for bullshit reasons. So I think that's important to remember as well. But, I definitely would say that, it's all kind of, making money is inherently grifting, in my opinion. Everyone does whatever they can do to survive, and they just by doing whatever they need to when it comes to the payment of resources. And Bob W. McGrath replied, no, you have to be dishonest to be grifting. And I said, everyone can justify a lie here and there. So, I'd say everyone's a grifter to an extent, especially when it comes to politics, I would say. Then we have, under pressure from liberal progressives, U.S. declassifies its document related to its involvement in the Chile fascist capitalist coup over the democratically elected social democratic capitalist government from commondreams.org. And that was by Chi-Town20. And that's a cross post from r/Chomsky. And I definitely would agree there. More declassification is a good thing. Hopefully they can declassify more of the Kennedy stuff soon. Because I definitely think they're still hiding a lot of stuff on that. The Kennedy assassination. Then we have, consent is meaningless if the majority can consent for you. Rights are meaningless if the majority can vote them away. No means no applies to more than just sex. And that was a tweet from Dylan Allman, and I posted that, and I said, agreed, it's my biggest problem with democracy. The only person who should make decisions for yourself is you, and not other people. I don't think people should abuse other people. People will justify what they justify. It's your job to make sure no one else treads on you without your consent. Then we have, for decades, Dems have referred to Cornel West only in the most reverent terms, one of history's most accomplished black scholars. Then he challenges Dems, and they send out their paid propaganda boys to spew every old troop, tax cheat, deadbeat dead, what's next, drug dealer from Glenn Greenwald on Twitter, and I posted that, and I said, you can't dissent from the official narrative at all without people coming after you for it. And then FlimsyOut5563 said, surprised me that you would jump to defend Marxists. Maybe there's some more nuance to you, or maybe you're just contrary and guessing the latter. And I replied, I'm more anti-establishment / anti-elite than anything. I used to be a Bernie guy before I changed my views on economics, and he ended up selling out. I also said, Ninja Lover says, in election, he thought that people running against him were going to say do nothing. Remo's turned into a buffoon. I said, that's obvious, yes. I think Remo's point here is more and more quickly people turn on someone when they go against the narrative. Politics has always been a giant grift. Everyone has always sought to use it as a means to further themselves and whatever agenda they have. People only care when the outgroup does it, though. That's why, they don't care. They consider Cornel West a grifter because he's an outgroup now that he's running as a third party. But, the Joe Biden can grift all he wants. He can grift for decades in the Senate and then 8 years as vice president, now 4 years, one term as president, potentially a second term. And they won't care, that's just him doing business, that's my thoughts there. Then we have, how is this real? Ha 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 from Bonchi on Twitter. And that was a picture, a video of Andrew Yang asking a question or not Andrew Yang, Vivek Ramaswamy, kind of the Republican Andrew Yang, I should say, asking a question to Al Sharpton on an episode of Hardball from 2004. And really that was back when he was a Dem. I said, really shows how people can be more politically fluid than a lot of people think. Trump used to be Dem as well as a dragon. And, the question he asked, too, that was also one we wanted to draw attention to, because he said, oh, you don't have to have political experience before running for office. And I said, the question's funny, so considering that Ramaswamy and his political daddy Trump both ended up fitting that description. Of course, government schools hate a symbol that says, don't tread on me. Their job is to tread, from Spike Cohen on Twitter, and I posted that, and that was how they removed the boy from class over the don't tread on me pride patch, even though political expression in schools is... right according to the Supreme Court from Tinker v. Des Moines and that Supreme Court case from I think 69. I know they did it in 60. Yeah, it's just from 69. They decided in 69. So yeah, I said the state thinks it owns everyone. Don't tread on me is antithetical to their agenda. You can consider a hate symbol you want, but, even if it was a hate symbol, I think, students still have a right to political expression in schools as long as they can as long as they feel like, as long as it's not causing too much of a distraction. I don't think it was causing too much distraction. I just think it just went against the agenda too much. Then we have candidates Libertarian clamor over Javier Milei, and that's from Knee Concussions. And yeah, they talked about Javier Milei, and I replied, I think he's decent. I don't know if I would vote for him because he's a good chance of winning. I don't want to feel betrayed when he goes back in his words like pretty much every other elected politician in history. I personally disagree with his abortion stance. I'm pro-choice, and anti-immigration stance and it does sound like he plays it bull too much, but I would be willing to trade those out for his economic stances. Then we have Texas students face tough new mandatory punishment for vaping from Flimsy Out 5563, and that's from CaraNews.org. So glad we have our priorities straight, they said. And I definitely would agree. I don't think we should have mandatory punishments for anything. I think we should always have it up to trial, and hopefully, I think as long as you're not hurting anyone else. I think vaping, maybe you could argue secondhand smoke could be hurting people, but I think, as long as you're keeping it to yourself, I think you should be able to do it. And I think vaping, I definitely don't think we should be having mandatory punishments for doing it or any of our drugs. Then we have a $100 million settlement reached in suits alleging torture at local authoritarian training center / Christian school from InsideEdition.com by Chi-Town20. That's just kind of another agenda post of theirs. That's the thing is, and I guess, that's the big problem with school, like public school, private school. Schools, I would say, are an inherently authoritarian institution. That's why I personally don't think people should be sent to any schools, because, they all have an agenda to push, and I don't particularly care for people who have an agenda to push on other people. Then we have Jesus wasn't a pacifist, training Christian Minutemen to assassinate domestic enemies in office from rightwingwatch.org by Chi-Town20. And that's another kind of agenda post. Some people like Chi-Town20 only care about right-wing terrorism, but they would never even say that left-wing terrorism is a real thing. So, that's just kind of, important to remember. Then we have the militarization of our police force by from ZL563. That's crosspost from the Funny and Sad subreddit. And it's the pictures. Some of these are pictures of the military. Some are pictures of the police. Just kidding. They're all pictures of police. And I would agree there that that's why I really don't care for the police. We're frankly the military in that regard. They all seek to control power through force, and they are used as the state as simply errand boys to do that. And that's why I think I personally would think it's the people's job to uphold law and order, not that of the state. And that's why I really don't care for them, especially if they're increased militarization, as this post notes. Saudi Arabia reportedly sentences man to death for criticizing government on social media. I think we all agree these are tyrants of the classical type, centralized private government power, from CBSNews.com by Chitown20, and I said, probably coming to the U.S. soon for hate speech and disinformation. I won't be surprised if that happened, if this depends on what party's in power, and what's classified as hate speech and disinformation. Then we have the Christian homeschooler who made parental rights a GOP rallying cry from WashingtonPost.com by Donald Key. And, yeah, I definitely would agree that, I think we need to emphasize school choice, but they don't want their tax dollars going to it. And I think that's why I think we need to have our taxpayer dollars going to whatever people want them to go to, instead of just, our one size, push them to one direction, push them to wherever the state wants to push them to. Instead, I think we need people to be able to use their tax dollars more directly. That's my system. Everyone has their own mini government. They can all spend on whatever they want, I would say. Then we have Saudi Arabian man sentenced to death for tweets, a preview of the illiberal private government capitalists fighting to bring to the USA from HRB.org by Chitown20. And I said, again, if he was thrown in jail for life by a Western government for posting something that could be deemed offensive or misinformation, you would probably be just fine. You'd probably be the first in line justifying it. Then we have drag shows are protected by First Amendment. Performers tell federal judge from TexasTribune.org from FilmCL5563. And yeah, I definitely would agree there, but I definitely do think I kind of agree with what Omega Felix writing in the comments. I agree that it's expressive and protected by First Amendment, but that doesn't, but because it's a sexually explicit content, state's right to say expressions for adults only. I think that's a decent argument. I don't know if I would justify the state having that power, but I definitely think private individuals do, and that's my thoughts there. I think if people want to go to drag shows, they should be able to go to drag shows, and they can take whoever they want to drag shows, but don't be surprised if people want to stigmatize taking kids there, especially when they're very sexualized. DeSantis admin knocked lack of opposing viewpoints on slavery in AP Courts report. A review of internal comments by the Miami Herald found that Florida officials objected to oppressor versus oppressed view of slavery. Republicans opposed labeling private capitalist slave masters tyrants. From RollingStone.com by Chitown20. That's another kind of agenda post by them. Yeah, so I definitely think, you really can't both sides and everything, I would say, but I definitely do think this is kind of an overreach by Florida. If they want to teach their view of slavery, they should be able to, but I definitely think we need to know that slavery is an inherently authoritarian institution. That's why we shouldn't have it anymore. Then we have why I won't vote this year any year from The Guardian. That was on Michael Malice post that I said. I said, agree with Malice here. The older I get, the less and less I care about voting. I still do it because I don't have anything better to do. People justify what they justify in these elections as a means to justify their own mandate over people. I don't care what letter is the person who thinks they rule me has next to their name. They all use the state to forward their agenda regardless if I consent to it, and that's something that I don't particularly care for. Then we have study, Sweden, Lizzie's fair pandemic policies paid off from Reason. I posted that, and I said, "This goes to show the road to hell is paved with good intentions when it comes to COVID authoritarianism. Even though some people might argue their intentions aren't good, but I think like a lot of what they can try and convince people is that it's good intentions. But the thing is that Sweden, they did a more libertarian approach, and look at all that. Look at it's being good for it turned out pretty good for them. Then we have Kia. What do you call AIDS, monkeypox, COVID, and the black light? Answer, and it's Michael Mouse's. Michael Mouse tweeted that, and I posted it, and that was his response to the new podcast that just revealed for John Oliver, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, and Steph Myers. And I said my rating for most Leafs insufferable would be Oliver, Colbert, Kimmel, Fallon, Myers. I hope the straight kills all their shows for good. Also, I haven't heard monkeypox in forever. Guess the way it went against spread it went against the narrative. They're calling it mpox now. So I think we're gonna check to see if there's anything new, and I think we're gonna wrap up there. And I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.